What problems can you encounter when transferring money? I sit down with Ben from Spartan FX to discuss issues you can avoid. It shouldn't be that complicated, right? It's your own money. Well, let's see how to do this worry-free like Josh and I did. Well, Ben, transferring money can be quite nerve-wracking for people. So what are some of the biggest problems that you see happen?
First and foremost, I'd probably say, depending on the bank that they're with, has a big impact on how easy their life is in terms of moving money internationally. So there's certain banks that make it quite problematic, especially if you're not in the US. So if you're overseas, there's certain banks that will have limits on the amount you can do per day, even per month. There's other banks that will specifically ask you to come into the branch. So if you're over in Europe somewhere and you literally can't get there, they will not move any of your money internationally. So it can cause a lot of issues for clients if they need to move money quite quickly. We always recommend clients speak to your bank well in advance so you know exactly what their limits are, what you can do with them, if you have to be in America, what you can do online. But that's probably the biggest issue, a client having access to their own money.
Which sounds crazy.
When they need it.
Yeah.
When they need it, yeah. So it is. So there are certain banks out there that we always recommend clients move to. Schwab is one. Chase let you do it online. Bank of America let you do it online. You may have to have a US cell number at times. So for most people, they are able to do it. But in essence, you can do it with those banks. I'd probably say Schwab is the best as well, because when they make the international wire to a client's account with us, it arrives within a few hours, which is great. If you are with a bank that will not let you move the amount you need, we've encountered clients having to fly back to America from Europe because we're closing on a property in a week's time, or even less. Even less. You'd be amazed how many clients leave it to the very last minute.
So that's another problem, right? Don't wait.
So don't wait. Plan well in advance of what you need to do. I suppose when you're buying a property, although you know you have to move the funds, so many people are not really thinking about buying my euros. They're just concentrating on everything else. They might be in the process of moving as well. So sometimes the currency can come down to the last minute. So if you plan that as far in advance as possible, number one, you've got more options. If you're speaking with a company like us, we can try and help you with the timing so you don't get caught out by rates going against you, which is also, it can be a big problem if you've budgeted at a certain level and you're not, and you've left it to the last minute. Some people aren't aware where the rates are. It's like, oh, I thought it was going to cost me this amount. But that was them looking at the rate when they made the offer 3 months earlier.
So you track rates for your clients and tell them, this is a good time to move. So that's why giving yourself a lot of time is important.
Oh, 100%. So if we speak with someone at the early stage, we'll keep them updated with the market.
Great.
We send them emails on when rates are going in their favour, going against them. And it helps them a lot. And I think a lot of the time when we speak to someone, we normally ask them what's their sort of, how they feel to risk, and not many of them want to take too much. So then we often say to them, well, look, if the exchange rate is at an acceptable level at this exact time, if you don't want risk, with us you can buy currency in advance. You don't have to send it to Portugal. You don't have to, or wherever in Europe. You don't have to send the money out to your own bank. If you don't have your own bank, you don't have to send it to the seller straight away. Lawyer, you can leave it in your account with us, so it stays there safe and sound, all completely segregated from every other client. From that point of view, they can feel safe that they've bought the currency, the money sits in their account, it's just ready for when they close. But I would say the biggest problem is probably access to the funds if they don't realise what bank they are with.
Are there any banks that you say are the absolute worst? I mean, obviously you have credit unions that just don't even do it, which is not good.
Credit unions won't do it.
Any banks, though, that just...
I'm trying to steer clear of Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo,
Wells Fargo. They do it, but again, they're one of these banks that have the limits. So I think if you're not in branch, you cannot move more than about $75,000 of your money every 30 days. So, if you imagine you're buying a property for a few €100,000, it can be taking you 3, 4, 6 months
which would be,
to have access to your money.
That's crazy,
So then that's when we've encountered clients having to fly back to America and go into the branch. So what we normally recommend anyway, because if you're going to be emigrating or you're going to be trying to close on a property in the next few months, you can have your funds in your account with us in dollars or in euros. So if you haven't converted, you can still leave the funds sitting with us in your base currency. And then you can still choose when to convert it. So if you know you're going to be moving it, why wait till you're in Europe, go through the hassle of then trying to go online, speak to the banks. There's a lot of security that can be asked.
Yeah.
But also we've had clients that have gone through all of that and the banks still hold the money because they're like, was it you that did it? What's the reason? They ask, a lot of questions nowadays. There's a lot of red tape. So if you're in branch, it does make it easier. You just go in there. You can, if you want, you can close an account. It can be as simple as that. But you can move all the money while you're there. Funds come to us in dollars. Clients in full control. They decide when to convert. And I would probably say that's the best way of doing it.
So timing is something that's also big. So that could be a big problem depending on your bank, or it could be an easy, not so much of a problem because it moves a little faster with something like Schwab.
Yeah, with something like Schwab, you go online. We even help clients fill in the forms with their bank details with us. So because each client with us has their own account number, IBAN, etc. So we help them fill in the forms. They send it to Schwab and Schwab action it quite quickly. The other obstacle that I'd probably say some clients face that they don't really think about is, there's a lot of online companies that do things very differently to us. So we're kind of a telephone brokerage. So personal service, we speak to all clients. As much as a client wants us to. So someone like Ben, I don't need to speak to you. I'll just send you an email. But the majority like to speak to us. If we speak with someone, we understand what they're doing, what their requirement is, and then we can help them as much as possible. But because we do that, from a compliance point of view, we have everything we need. So copies of, let's say, bank statements, source of funds, because again, when you're moving money internationally, as part of AML, which is like anti-money laundering regulations, you have to understand where someone's money's coming from and then why it's going overseas. So with most of our clients are either emigrating, buying a property. So on that side, it's easy. If you're buying a property, clients...
It's just proof of that, right?
Yeah, clients sign a contract before they send any money anyway. So they'll provide us that. If their own money is going to their own bank, we don't need anything about why they're moving funds on. But it's just a copy of where the money's coming from. Now, there's a lot of online companies where you can go online and you can do your $5,000-$10,000 come in and out very quickly. But as soon as you start doing, a few $100,000, they can stop your payments. Oh, well, now we need X, Y, and Z. And if you're not aware that they need it and you need your money in and out quickly, it can hold it up. And we have seen clients, miss property completion, so closing on because their money has been held. They don't always see the notifications if it's just by email. So it can be problematic. Whereas with us, if there's any issues at all, we just pick up the phone and speak to someone.
Right, and I think this is what's really comforting about Spartan FX is that you have like a personal relationship with your clients. So instead of just doing it online, like for me, this is when we bought our property. Yeah. Instead of just doing it online and being like, okay, I hope I did that right.
And where's my money going?
Right, and it just goes into who knows. Yeah. But like with you, we're talking on the phone. Okay, here's the numbers. Is this correct? Okay, I'm pressing, or you can even kind of push it through, right?
So the good thing with us is, let's say for you moving money to us, so you just go online somewhere, even with your bank, like you just send it, and it's like, well, where's the money? And in America as well, a lot of banks will say your money will turn up in 10 days, 2 weeks. It doesn't. It always arrives within 24, 48 hours typically.
Okay.
If it hasn't arrived within, let's say, the 3 days, the likelihood is a Wells Fargo they don't know where they're sending the money to. And we have seen money turn back in the client's bank 5 days later because Wells Fargo go, well, we didn't really know where we were sending it,
gosh.
Which doesn't really make... But they're the only ones that we've ever encountered that issue with.
That's why you don't like them.
One of the many reasons. They just make it hard for their customers. But in essence, if you send your funds, we can say to you, look, if there's a tracking number, we can put it on our system, we can see where the money's at, so we can work it out on that side. But also, the great thing with us is when we send money out for you, we've got full tracking, so we can say to you at any stage, well, your money was sent out at this time, it's with this bank. A lot of the time, the banks don't put the money in straight away as well. So we give you all the proof of payments, references to give to the bank. You go to a bank, say, look, this money was sent. they say, oh yeah, we can see the funds here, and they credit it straight away. It's not uncommon for some European banks to hold the money for a day or two before they put it in your bank. On our tracking that we have for customers, we can send money to one bank. It sometimes says it arrives in 1 minute. And then the same bank, for another customer, it can take 25 hours. But before they credit the money into the account, we can see it's with the bank straight away, but they don't
put it in.
through. Yeah. So if we provide you all that information, you need the funds urgently, you can take that to the bank and they'll action it for you. Whereas if you're trying to find that out with an online company, it can be a bit harder.
Right.
Because there's just no one there to speak to.
Right. There's no one to talk to. That's the biggest
thing. You send your
thing.
email, how long does it take to get a response? Or the online chat, you can be chatting away all day.
Yeah. And just getting like stock answers, when you're just talking to
a computer.
Computer, right.
AI, right? It might get worse as the years go by. But so that's the one thing that we find our clients really appreciate and really like. And if you think about it as well, when you're emigrating, buying a property, it's normally the biggest money transfer you're ever going to do internationally. So it's stressful when you move domestically, from one place in America to another. So let alone internationally, where you're worrying as well about your removals and trying to time everything. It can be difficult. So we try and make the moving money part of it as easy and stress-free as possible.
Right, yeah, that's so true. Like moving the money, and you've got so many other things going on. Like even if it's just buying you're already, like for us, we were already living in Portugal and we were ready to buy. But so we weren't thinking about the moving side of things, but we're thinking about the purchase of the actual property and the timing of all that. So that, it takes away a lot of stress.
And you've got lots of other things because you might have just moved. You're thinking, right, well, we need to buy a car. We're buying the house. We're trying to get everything set up, and it's just, there's a million things on your list that you're trying to do. So, and that's again the reason why, if your money's with us, when you're in Europe, you're then not having to go through that next thing on your list of, I need to speak to the bank. How do I get the money over? It's all done before you've actually even left sometimes. And what we do find a lot of clients do is if they're selling a place in the US, like a house, so the money goes to the title company, we get lots of customers that will get the title company to move a chunk or all of their funds to their account with us.
Okay.
So then that way, it hasn't gone into their own bank. They don't have to worry about dealing with their bank, and the title companies move the money directly to us, which again is a great way of them doing it. Now, they don't have to move all of it. They can move part to their bank, part to us. But even if a title company says, look, we'll only make one payment, they send all the money to their account with us. If they want a percentage of that back in, we just move the money
put it back into their US bank. That makes sense.
And it just makes life much, much easier for them.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about living in another country but don't even know where to start when it comes to something like taxes? Maybe you're thinking a second passport would be nice. Everyone wants to find the best place to live, but maybe that's different from one person to the next. Nomad Capitalist wants you to go where you're treated best. They help you become a global citizen so you can maximize your freedom. That's why Josh and I are going to go to Nomad Capitalist Live 2024. Let's take a quick look at what to expect. This conference will not be recorded or streamed, so join us there in person. The link is in the description below. Okay, run me through the process then when someone is thinking about, they're new, they're thinking about using Spartan FX, so what do? They jump on a call with you, they chat, they create an account, what happens?
So most of our business is probably referrals and recommendations. So some clients will just go on our website, they register with us, so you have to register an account, so we can get the facility in place to help you buy and sell whichever currency you need. But in essence, we always say to clients that if you want to have a chat with us before you've registered, we'll answer any questions, queries you've got. We'll do that, explain how our service works, the options available to them. But in essence, once they've registered, we provide them with all of their account details that they would need. We'll then hopefully understand what their timings are. We'll help them with the conversions when they're ready. But in essence, you have an account, you then move the funds from your bank to your facility with us, You can do a conversion before you send money, or you can send the money first if you prefer to know exactly how it all works, and then do a conversion, and then we move the money on to where you need it. So you send dollars, buy euros, and we move that money to the account of your choice.
Okay.
And that's kind of, in essence, how it works. We have some clients, like I said, Schwab can have the money with us in 2-3 hours. We can have it back in Portugal on the same day.
Okay. So, but people do need to be careful. Like, could go fast, but maybe it doesn't go fast. So, giving, yeah, because that's another problem.
Yeah,
that could
because
arise.
not every bank will have the funds like on the same day. So some might take a day or two. Like I say, at Wells Fargo, we've encountered problems where they've sent the money and it's turned it back in the client's account a week later because they just didn't do it correctly. So it is rare that happens, but it can happen. So we'll say, look, if you can give yourself enough time to move the funds over, even if you haven't converted it first, the funds are sitting there. The earlier in the process you think about it, the less that can go wrong. I get it every now and then. A client will say, I'm closing on a property like tomorrow.
Oh, gosh.
Why haven't you sent the money out?
Yeah.
It's like you've left it like... Well, I know we can meet the deadlines, but a lot of the time, it's not on us. It's on the sending bank sending it. Like, you'll even find the client will go to their bank and say, okay, I want to make a wire, that they make the international transfer. The bank doesn't actually send it straight away. It still sits with the bank sometimes for 5 hours, 10 hours. Sometimes it's the next day the funds go. So obviously if a client's in a rush, they can't control when the bank sends it.
Right, and you can't either, but you can at least track it for them. That's the biggest thing, so they can get on the phone and be like,
Correct.
"Where is it now?"
Yeah,
like,
where's the money?
okay.
Like, why have you not sent it? It's still with the banks, etc.
Right.
So yeah.
So that's good. At least it's like trackable, because that's another
yeah.
problem.
As long as
that
they
you
give
could have.
us if they're on the Swift system, I won't go into too much detail, but there's a tracking number. If we can be provided that, we can see where it is at any time.
Okay. So you can have like a USD and a Euro, let's say, account with you. So you can send money at any time and it sits in the USD one. Then you could be tracking the conversion rate, right? To see and be like, okay, this is a good time now to get it into your Euro account. So you track that as well?
Just so we do. Clients have full visibility as to where the exchange rates are. As an example, when you did it with us, it has to be your decision when you want to convert. So we'll always give you our opinion, what we think may happen with the market, but there's not a set science to it. So we know with exchange rates, anything can happen. So we'll say, look, this is where the market's at now. This is where it's been at. This is where it may head over the coming days, weeks. Yeah. Sometimes it's easier to kind of predict where the rates might be in 6 months' time as opposed to in 3 days' time, because so much can happen in a short amount of time, where you kind of get a feel for what may occur long term. Because, like for instance in America at the moment, you feel that interest rates will come down at some stage. From looking at that, America will probably be the first country to cut rates. So you'd imagine over the next 3 to 4 months, the dollar may be slightly weaker than where it's at now.
Okay.
Again, it's not a set science because they might end up keeping rates at the current level for a year, but we expect that to happen. We feel that, the dollar will probably weaken slightly. So if we're speaking to customers now, we're saying, look, if you're within budget and you're closing in the next 2, 3, 4 months, which is, spring into early summer, why take too much risk? Because you could end up costing yourself a few percent. A lot of clients, when they're moving, you're talking really 50K up to, a few $100,000 for a general person buying a property. It can be quite costly. A difference of now to maybe 3, 4 months down the line can be something like $15,000-$20,000, which is, it's a lot of money.
A big chunk that, maybe you're not accounting for. So it is important to kind of track those. But that's nice that you do it as well. So
we try and do that for them,
and
as we said earlier, a lot of clients, they're not aware of it either. The amount of people we speak to don't fully appreciate or understand sometimes like what the difference can be. They just think, well, this is the exchange rate today. So not that that will be it then, but they think of it in a way of whatever the rate is. But then when we sometimes explain to them, well, look, this is what you're at now. You could be 10, 15, 20 work. They're like, wow, I never realised that. So then they're like, well, I don't want that risk. And especially if you go back during, the middle of COVID and when the war broke out between Russia and Ukraine, the dollar was so strong. At that point in time, you kind of didn't really expect the dollar to remain at those levels forever. So we had a lot of customers that purchased a lot of their euros when they didn't even need them, because they're like, the odds of the rates being this high. But some clients that didn't understand it or had never really looked at global exchange rates. They just thought, well, isn't it always roughly like this? So they didn't realise. So
Right.
and then they look at it now, they're like, wow, yeah, it's like 15% worse.
Yeah. Are there any other really big problems that you see happen with transferring money?
The biggest issue in terms of funds going overseas, right, is we always recommend when a customer is asking us to send funds that they've verified bank details. There's a lot of email fraud that can go on. So in terms of where money is going out for you, that's always our biggest concern. So our client security is the utmost important thing. Quite regularly, we will call their real estate agent, we'll call their lawyers, we'll verify the bank details. A lot of our clients will just get email details. They just email it to us. Nothing's ever been checked, and it's just a recipe for disaster. So for us as well, if our clients email us bank details, number one, if it's a new account, it's not their own account, we'll never just make the payment.
Okay.
We will call every client and verify those bank details just to make sure their email hasn't been compromised. So that's really important. But then also when they're moving funds out to a third party, we'll always verify those bank details. So I would probably say, in terms of, not that you want to put fear into it, because again, it's rare that it will happen, but we just always recommend call who's sending you the bank details for the sake of a 1-2 minute phone call. It's the safest thing that you can do.
Just to verify account numbers and everything.
Yeah. And I've been doing this for over 16 years now, and there have been occasions where a client has received bank details from a lawyer, and the lawyer's email had been compromised.
Oh no!
So they think they're getting emails from a lawyer. It's not a lawyer; it's someone else. They come to us, say, "Oh, can you make the payment?" If it's a lawyer that we work with, we know their bank details, so we would know if it's different. But we always say to them, "Have you spoken to the lawyer? Have you verified the bank details?" Oh no, I haven't. Call them.
Yeah.
And then, no, we didn't send you that email. So clients, it does happen. Even in the UK now, every email from a UK lawyer, they will put on there, please call us to verify our bank details before you send any money to us.
Okay.
Just in case, be on the safe side.
Yeah, because of how things are nowadays.
Yeah, and the last thing that anyone wants is you're moving a large amount of money and you've sent it to the wrong place. Just because it hasn't been verified. Often we will do that for clients. That's just part of the security of your funds that we try and do for you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, does it have to be a large amount of money that people send to you, or do you do all?
You can do any volume. We deal with all the major currencies as well. So if a client is needing smaller regular transfers, we can assist them with that. We do find as well, a lot of our clients find it easier asking us to make payments for them as opposed to even logging on to their own international bank, paying their utility bills, paying tradesmen. So if they've got an amount of funds as a credit in their account, they can either go online with us and they can go, right, I want to pay this individual, pay that bill, and they can do it very easily from their account. So yeah, we help clients with smaller regular transfers. We normally tend to say we have a minimum, say if you're talking US dollars, maybe like $2,000 or $3,000 to make it so we can be competitive for them.
Right.
But in essence, yeah, you can do any amount, you can trade any of the major currencies. It's not only if you need to send money to Europe, we have a lot of US clients that move money to Canada, to the Far East, to Australia, countries like that. So it can work for any of that, and really any amount that they need. Most clients they tend to do that kind of $2,000 or $3,000 upwards, but yeah, it can be done, and we're happy to facilitate it.
Well, thanks, Ben. And if you would like to get in touch with Spartan FX, then you can email us at info@expatseverywhere.com, and you can check the links in the description below. Now let's get moving.